town of the good, the bad, and the weird. You either live by the gun, or you die by the sword.
Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast, where we normally rip off the director's commentary and deep dive special features to discuss movies we love, but this week there was no commentary, and we have to rely on extensive nerd knowledge for this review as the master of rip-off artists and their live-action adaptation, Jintama, the live-action the movie, also just known as Jintama.
Yep.
I'm Nico.
And I'm Chris.
Yeah, so we are doing Jintama this week.
And yeah, boy, this one, while there is no special features of like significance to this one, the amount of stuff just jam-packed into Jintama normally, let alone into the movie, really just kind of hits you hard.
Yeah, and we chose this one because, one, it's probably the gag manga that both of us know the best.
Yeah, like we both like Jintama anyway, like we were going to get to this movie eventually.
Yeah, and also it's kind of our last foreign movie for a bit too.
Yeah, and as far as live actions go, this one, for us, is like that perfect balance of like really stupid, but actually a good live adaptation.
Oh yes, yeah, exactly.
Like this one sits on a very special sweet spot.
Exactly, and I'll get into that a little bit, specifically because the director had some direction that he used. That's why it makes it just so that little bit of perfect.
Of course. So,
for those who don't know, Jintama is a 2017 live-action adaptation of the comedy manga by the same name, and follows the Gintama cast as they work through a series of quests that have more than what they lead to be on the surface.
But just like the show, all these three people are just trying to make rent.
Yes. Yeah.
Like no matter that is the true comedy gold. Much like an episode of Friends or Seinfeld, there is no plot.
No.
It's just these three idiots. And even though this is a full-length 2-hour-long movie, there is still almost no plot.
There's a little bit of plot. Because
there's enough for a 2-hour movie.
This comes from like the second year-ish, or after the second year of the manga, where he actually started including some plot. Like,
there's plot in the same way there's plot to like Inuyasha.
Yeah.
It's there, but you don't have to look at it.
Yeah, and specifically it's based off the Beni Zakura saga from the manga.
Yes.
And worth noting, for those who don't know, this is also a period piece.
Yeah, of course it is.
It's kind of a weird, like, period cyberpunk series.
Yeah, and it's also delightfully sci-fi in, like, that early Star Trek sort of way.
Yeah. And
like, before they had a budget. Well,
it's also a weird one, because when we think of, like, cyberpunk, we think of low or high-tech, low life, and we always think of like grungy, like Blade Runner, and this one's very
opposite,
vibrant and cutesy at times.
This one is shockingly modern while maintaining Edo period Japan.
Yes. Yeah, it's a bit weird.
It is terribly weird, and that is the joy of Jintama.
Oh yes. And so Jintama is directed and written by Yuichi Fukada, who I, for one, am not familiar with, but looking through his many works, he does a lot of comedies, including one that is on my list, on my radar, but I can't get it here. It's called Hentai Kamen. It's the dude who wears the underwear over his head, that superhero.
I have seen the imagery. I have not gotten to it.
Yes. And he also directed a movie that I want to find at some point called Businessmen vs. Aliens.
You know what? That tracks.
Yeah.
That's practically this movie.
And a lot of the cast has been in Hentai Kamen. So yes. It's a weird cast of characters.
It is. And like, I am mildly familiar with the three main actors and actress. Because two of them were in the live action for Assassination Classroom.
That they were.
And then the main one, I recognize him from Godzilla vs. King Kong, and he voiced in Full Metal Alchemist.
Yes, and I'll get to that in just a second. Back to Fukuda real quick.
Yes,
Fukuda.
I know shockingly little about, despite it sounds like we would be good friends.
He was picked as the director because of his work for the hero Yoshihiko, and Blue Flame, which convinced the author Hideki Sorachi to do the live action adaptation, because he was very hesitant of even doing a live action of Jintama.
Which makes sense because, like, especially in the anime world, like, there's always that, like, is this real life enough to pull off live action? And Jintama falls really strongly in the nope category. And yet, this all works.
And it works for a very specific reason.
Because it's Jintama.
Yes, and a little bit more, and I'll get to that a little bit later. So, as mentioned, it stars Shunoguri, Kana Hashimoto,
yes,
and Sakai Suda, as well as a lot of other characters, which I will get into. And as by now, this is a little bit of our tradition of anytime we do a Japanese movie, we get to play another game of who in the movie has worked with Takashi Miike.
Yeah, let's take shots, shall we?
No. I will say it is a bit lighter than, like, My Surprise with the Cat Returns.
Of course. That's good. Because there's a lot of people in this movie.
Aguri, as you mentioned, we would know him from Godzilla vs. Kong. And
a good movie. He's
in an absolute metric fuck ton of live actions, including Arakawa Under the Bridge and I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. He also has done a lot of voice acting, including Animal Crossing the movie, where I didn't realize this was a movie to begin with.
And me neither until I was looking into this, but now I'm going to hunt it down.
Yes. And we get to do our very first round of Takashi Miike points, I guess, as we're calling it until I find a better name. Chris, how many Takashi Miike points does this man have?
I didn't look this up because, unlike you, I am not obsessed with Takashi Miike. And I was a little busy at looking at all of the roles he was in and figuring out if I'd seen the movie or not, because the list I had was solidly in Japanese.
It is a big list.
So I was very busy Google translating.
Well, take a guess.
Oh, he's in so much. 8.
4.
I doubled it.
Terraform Mars, Crow Zero, Crow Zero 2, and he's Akira and Sukiyaki Western Django.
Of course he fucking is. God damn it, I missed the obvious one.
The very, very obvious one. An episode we have done before.
Yeah, I was a bit busy realizing that he was one of the main voice actors in Space Pirate Captain Harlock, which was on Netflix, and I was sitting here like for a solid 10 minutes be like, I've seen this movie. What is it about?
It's been a while since I've seen Harlock, and yeah, it's...
Like, I know I've seen it. I just don't remember anything about it.
I think it was just a popcorn watch that I had playing when just kind of zoned out.
I don't know why I don't remember about it, because Treasure Planet is one of my all-time favorite movies, and this movie visually looks like it falls into the genre of space pirate. I
mean, his name is Harlock, Space Pirate.
Yeah, so you'd think I'd know more about this movie.
Well, and I will say that, I mean, that is one thing that I will admit is, like, I've always felt like I have a relatively decent knowledge of some foreign actors, and this one is one of those ones where it's like, I have not seen anything most of these people have been in.
Yeah, that was unfortunately my dilemma with the other two actors.
Yes. As for Kana Hashimoto, she's in a lot of live actions, including Psychic Kuso, which did not know that had a live action either.
You let me know when you get around to watching it.
If I can get my hands on it.
Yes.
Which is why I need to learn Japanese, so I can buy a bunch of these movies and not need translations.
Yeah.
But she is also in Assassination Classroom and the spiritual successor to Sailor Suit and Machine Gun, which I have seen. Well, I haven't seen the spiritual successor. I've seen the first one. But the aptly named movie, Sailor Suit and Machine Gun, Graduation.
You know what? I saw that name roll across her list of credits, and I went, I bet you Nico's seen that one.
Yeah, because I made your husband watch it.
Yeah, that's okay.
And we were all very confused by it.
That jives.
As for Suda, He's in a lot of anime and live-action adaptations, including Kamen Rider, and that's about it, but I haven't seen anything he's been in.
See, I've seen the Princess Jellyfish one.
Okay, I didn't know that they did Did they do a live-action of that, or...?
Not sure. I've seen all of the Princess Jellyfish stuff when it was popular.
Yeah.
I binged everything I get my hands on for it. So I guarantee I've seen it, just don't remember.
I know I watched it too, I just don't know who he would be in it.
Yeah, well, especially after looking over the cast again and like seeing them without makeup on, I have no idea who he played in it.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, there's no special features to go off of.
Nope. I mean, it's Jintama.
Yeah, there are some cultural references and nerdy things to point out, and I had to do a little bit of digging on a couple, so I'll kind of point them out, because for me, that's it's weird that I like Jintama so much, because I'm not very much into comedies,
especially since Jintama is almost all like spoof puns. Like that's its whole thing.
Yeah, and at the same time, like, I have a hard time with English comedies at times, and so like, and I know for a fact I do not understand most Japanese comedies to begin with.
True. I would argue though that Jintama, while falling strongly in the styling of like typical Japanese comedy, and especially anime comedy, the humor in it hits very similar to like Monty Python.
Yeah, just a bit.
It's not as dry, it's not as straightforward, like it's not British, but it's all like a dumb reference within itself.
Yeah, it's not like self-reliant on its own plots to be humorous.
No, it expects the audience to be thinking along with it.
Yeah, and it also expects you to know a little bit of anime and manga.
Or in this case, a lot.
Especially towards the end.
Oh my gosh, it starts getting fast.
Yeah. And so, before diving into it, for those unfamiliar with Gintama in general, the series is a gag manga.
Yes.
Which pokes fun at shonen tropes for the most part.
But it will take a stab at anything popular.
Yes. The largest one being that none of the main characters, like you mentioned, really have any dreams or aspirations.
No, they are just living their life.
Instead, doing whatever they want to do for money.
Yeah, literally every episode is, hey, we need to pay rent.
Yeah, which leads to the pacing of this movie while having an overall arc. I've had too much architecture on the brain.
I understand that entirely.
Last week, I shared a hotel room with my parents because I went out to see them in Oklahoma. And my mom said I was talking about load-bearing walls in my sleep.
Oh,
and
no.
complaining about stuff not being able to go there.
Oh, I understand. I had a dream the other night about how I had to explain why we couldn't punch a hole through a wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's time for a weekend.
Yes, it is. But the pacing of the movie is a bit odd and somewhat episodic-like.
Yeah, like there's multiple times where you like push the pause button to see how far along in this movie you are, and you're like, boy, we gotta be about the halfway mark, and you're like, oh no, I've still got like another hour and a half to go.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot to this movie.
There is.
So, before deep diving into it, Chris, what are we drinking today?
Well, in true Gintama fashion, they have found a way to make fun of the anime culture again, and so we are drinking strawberry milk per their own joke.
Yes, it is,
Yeah, I mean, cheers.
Cheers. Kampai.
Kampai. Tastes like diabetes.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm gonna drink it.
It's good. I mean, it's not milk, so...
That's what's saving it for me.
Exactly. So, Jintama.
Oh boy.
We open with a setting of the world of aliens known as the Yamato, or Sky People, taking over Edo-era Japan.
Okay, I will appreciate Jintama right from the get-go, because it knows that most of the people watching this movie are going to be Jintama fans. My mom is not going to accidentally watch Jintama.
No.
However, if I were to force her to watch Jintama, this movie does attempt to kind of tell you, like, its own, like, lore.
Well, it tells you the lore and the history in, like, a 2-minute time frame.
Which is perfect, because, like, we don't really need to be spending forever building up the world.
Yeah.
Especially since this, again, is Jintama, and there's a lot of wiggle room here.
Exactly. And there's a lot more for it to go over that's more important than just the setting, which that's the thing, is it's just setting it up because...
Yeah, it's almost like a quick flyby, and in those 2-minute flyby of it being like, there's aliens, they look like fill in whatever you want here.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's Edo period Japan, but it's also modern day.
Yeah, kind of.
There you go.
Kind of.
But it's also in the future.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd. But to give the setting, samurai are no longer relevant because of a sword ban from the war. And that's one thing with Gintama that I didn't go a whole lot into because there's a lot of parallels between Gintama and real world history.
Yes, which is the delight in it.
Yeah.
For me, because it grounds it just enough.
Well, it's also a commentary on modern Japan using...
I've got it. Jintama and Family Guy live within the same breath. They are both... but Family Guy takes it in like a, hey, this is the current thing that's happening. And Jintama goes, what anime is currently playing? Also, have you heard about the history?
I have to disagree with that. I think Jintama, in some regards, is very sketch. I see where you're going with like kind of the sketch-like aspect, but Jintama is not like the whole basis of Family Guy's humor for the most part is like remember when.
Yes.
Jintama is like it's not remember when. It's just like yeah, this is happening, guys.
Yes, it's in a different tense.
Exactly. But I love how the aliens with all this future tech still come to old school Japan and fight with katanas and stuff. It's such a weird...
It like still manages to firmly say, no, we are a period piece. Even though it's not.
No, not at all.
But it is. It checks all of the period piece boxes.
Yeah, it's just an odd mashup that somehow works. Kind of like how... jazz works with space bounty hunters and Cowboy Bebop.
Yes. Yeah.
It's one of those weird, or like we were talking about it a little yesterday when we were returning from the movies about when you and the ladies were watching Way of the House Husband.
Yes.
Where it's this mashup between Slice of Life and a Yakuza series, and it's just like it's the mashup we didn't know we needed.
Yes.
Yeah.
It very much is.
But we cut to a cafe where we're introduced to the semi-incompetent Senpachi working the register, and the main man himself, Jintoki, eating a parfait.
Passionately eating a parfait.
Yes. Right from the bat, the cat-headed people wearing the leopard prints are great. So,
in the show, it's... In the movie, there is a... delightfully inconsistent between the aliens looking like CGI aliens and then these two, which are just masks.
Well,
but they're like good-esque masks, but they're also not like a ton of effort going into hiding the fact that these are men in costumes.
Well, that's the thing is, I don't think from watching it, I don't think any of like the humanoid aliens are CG. They're all just people with masks.
Yes.
Some are mushroom heads, some are lizards, some are cat people, or some have horns.
And then there's that one guy who's just a ball of twine.
I didn't catch that one.
I'm not sure what he is, but it's like a ball of twine on his head.
Well, and it's also kind of fitting because it
feels like that old sci-fi channel, like, where it's not like we didn't try, but we also didn't want to put the budget into CGI-ing everyone.
But they also feel a little bit like yokai.
Yes.
Like,
like they're all just a tiny bit goofy because of it.
Exactly. And I think it's just perfect.
I do too. I love it. I kind of wish that more live actions would take this approach.
Yeah. But it also makes the movie feel a bit old school at the same time.
Yes. So that's kind of the main problem with a live action is like, how do you keep it from aging really fast?
Yeah.
Especially if you've got one like this where if you were to take it super seriously, almost everything would have to be somewhat CGI'd. And yet, because we have rubber masks, it kind of has that Kung Pao feel where it's like, it doesn't matter that it looks old now.
Yeah, and, I mean, I'm going through the Marvel universe right now.
I'm so sorry.
No, I'm fine.
How far are you along? Because it's a long road.
I finished phase 1.
Okay, all right. So you're still in the good fun stage.
Yeah, well, kind of. So, I won't get off track with that. Where I'm at is like the CGI is aging.
Yes, it is.
So, and that's the thing is like Jintama doesn't try and pretend like the CGI is good.
No,
that's the biggest thing.
From the day it came out, it was like, we are going to be aged. Just go ahead and put wrinkles on us.
Exactly. And so we get introduced that Senpachi is completely useless.
Very. Entirely.
And some of it's his fault, some of it's just... It also is establishing, like, the class system of that the Amanto are very much dickheads to humans for the most part. They kind of look down on them.
Yeah.
Because they trip Senpachi. He spills milk all over them, which also bumps into Jintoki's table, which knocks his parfait over.
Oh, how dare.
Which, I love Jintoki's dickery. It's just so great because he is so focused on food.
And specifically food that he shouldn't be eating.
No. He's allowed one parfait a week because he has early onset diabetes.
Because he keeps eating sugar.
Yes.
And drinking strawberry milk.
And then on top of that, like, despite him taking out these technically upper class people, he still proceeds to critique the shop owner on his parfait.
Yeah, there's too much cornflakes in his parfait. Sir!
And I mean, it starts off our first bit of action is super cheesy. It's very off-putting.
Yeah, and it's also got like a hint of that like everyone on strings kung fu sort of vibe, without like everyone defying physics at all times.
Yeah,
there's no elegance or grace to it, to the kung fu-ness of the fighting, but it's still fluid. It still feels like a fight, as opposed to like, oh, we forgot to tell our actors how to choreograph this. Like, it feels choreographed. Yeah. It still flows nicely. It just feels like a bunch of idiots fighting.
Yeah, because it is a bunch of idiots fighting.
Yeah.
But we get a little bit of or not really a backflash, but explanation that from Senpachi explaining their situation, that Jintoki is this freelancer. He's also kind of Senpachi's kind of master,
but he's also a total bum.
Yeah, we're just kind of quickly introduced,
and like we get the immediate like sense that Senpachi looks up to him a little bit unnecessarily, but like enough.
In like the mind of like a free spirit of they're just dudes hanging out, basically.
Yes, like he is the ultimate in the lazy bum world.
I just realized Jintoki very much feels like a more motivated at times the dude from The Big Lebowski. Yeah, just a bit. But we transition into the opening song that is like an anime intro, which is quickly interrupted by bad CGI, making fun of Jintoki and the opening, while also making fun of its own CGI, how bad it is.
And referencing that, like, other shows don't do this.
Yeah, or other movies don't do this. Yes. Because, like, why are you doing this? This is a movie.
And, like, immediately bashing the fact that, like, there's more than one main character, and why is he the only one in the credits?
Yeah, in the opening credits. And then also bitching about, or complaining that, like, there's just random Arabic and Korean text over everything.
Yeah. And they're like, well, who's translating this into Arabic? He's like, well, I am. They're like, we don't have the budget for that.
I love how they're just...
They're immediately breaking the fourth wall and being so self-aware that it's gold.
Oh, it's fantastic, because on top of that, we're introduced to all three main players. Jintoki is portrayed by Shin Oguri, who also just... a little hint to our next episode a little bit. He based his performance off of Jackie Chan.
Yes, he did.
Senpachi portrayed by Masaki Suda, and Kagura portrayed by Kana Hashimoto. But yeah, I mean, it's just, they just introduce themselves so quickly.
It's so quick.
And also it's a reintroduction of Jintoki.
Yes, like we've already met two of the three characters.
Yeah. And on top of that, they state that this is a one-time adaptation and threatens the audience that, hey, you guys better go watch this, otherwise otherwise you're gonna miss out. Kind of like, hey, do this now, pay us.
Yes.
The tickets are hella cheap.
Yeah, but also you should be aware from the get-go that they did make a second one.
Yes, down the line. At this point, it's set up to be a one movie.
No, but that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Is like they were like, this is a one-time thing, and then like eventually like, you know what? We can do it again.
Yeah, and I think they even mentioned that they rip off the TBS format too.
Yes, they do.
I just love how stupidly this movie starts.
This whole movie is so dumb, but it's never dumb in that like hurting, cringy way.
No.
They're all just delightful idiots.
Yes. And now we get like a weird restart of the intro.
Like re-intros.
Because now we get the actual Warner Brothers logo, which is very quick. They didn't do anything special with it, which is
I kind of like it, because honestly, like, Warner Brothers having their fingers in this really doesn't do anything.
No.
Like, they didn't really add anything to this. They didn't really tell them not to do anything.
No.
And, like, Warner Brothers, as far as I can find, is like, yeah, we have it, but, like, we don't want to talk about it.
It feels like... Here's what I think it is. I think it feels like they were meeting a requirement from the studio of, like, yeah, we'll make this, but you have to put our logo in the intro. And they're like, well, here we go. Here it is. Just
slap.
Awkwardly placed into the entire beginning of the movie.
I would completely believe that to be the actual case, yes.
Yeah.
I 100% believe that. That's canon.
And so we, from this intro, we cut to a normal lazy day, but Kagura wants to go bug hunting.
Very demanding.
The slow motion punches are so dumb.
But I love them because it's not a punch that then they slow motion.
Mm-hmm.
The entire thing is acted slow motion. And then the person getting punched does a face at the camera. And so, like, if you're gonna do a slow motion punch, that's the way to do it, because it's not even the same face every time they get punched. It's a different, like, they have to, like, try new faces every time they're punched.
It's very much so, like, whenever you pretend to, like, kung fu fight your siblings and stuff, and you do the slow motion punches and stuff, it's very much that.
It is exactly that, and that is why this movie gets away with slow motion, because they add a humor into the slow motion.
Because they also add, like, the action lines on top of it.
Yes, and there's, like, a dribble of spit that they, like, highlight as it comes out of his mouth.
Yeah. But from the somewhat chaotic intro we have, this sets up the carefree slackers who only do shit for money, as Kagura wants to go. Well, she only wants
to
this
do stuff for fun, but she won't do it by herself.
No. She doesn't want to do it for fun. She wants to do it so she can replace the bug she lost to earn money herself.
Yes, but no one else is going to go until they learn that some of these bugs are worth as much as a car.
Yeah, because Jintoki sees a TV show stating that they could make money from it.
Yeah, it's not even guaranteed, and, like, they have no idea what they're doing, but they're gonna give it a try.
Yep. And small note, Dragon Ball, the manga, is sitting on the table on the floor.
Yes, it is.
It comes up a handful of times.
Yeah. Yes.
And it is time for beetle hunting in a rapid round of how many degrees of Takashi Miike, because we are introduced to so many characters in, like, a 20-minute scene.
Yes, and it's delightful.
Because, one, we also get a little bit of building of Jintoki. He's a pompous asshole.
Yes. On top of being lazy and broke.
Yeah, only when he's confident.
Yeah.
But the group first stumbles upon a honey-slathered Isao Kondo.
I love this man.
The commander of the Shinsengumi, which is a police force. I won't go too far into it. It's
because they don't really explain it in the movie, but you don't need to.
And it's also based off an actual police force from the era.
Yeah, you don't care. These are just, like, the Scotland Yard of this movie.
Yeah, and it's portrayed by Kanekuro Nakamura, who has 0 points of Takashi Miike. But I love the fact that they introduce these characters with all their little quirks, as he stalks Senpachi's sister and is nicknamed Gorilla.
And they just put this information directly on the screen.
Yes, and he is disgusting. And on top of that, like,
he's so gross.
He's standing on one leg and absolutely slathered in honey, with the honey hanging around him, too.
And not even just like I dipped some and like smeared. Like, he is dripping in honey.
Yeah.
He's shiny.
And they're not even explaining why he's out there. They're just like, all right, let's keep going, guys.
No, and like, he shows up dripped in honey immediately after one of them is like, boy, this would be easier if we could like just put honey on ourselves and the beetles come to us.
Yeah.
And then he immediately is there already dripped in honey. In his undies. Undies that show off his butt cheeks.
One would say reminiscent of Ghost of Tsushima.
Yes. Only more man-thongy and a lot more honey. And questionable haircuts. The man's hair goes up. It feels like it grows throughout the movie. I know it doesn't, but it feels like it gets taller every time I look at it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, too, is like they don't try and hide that the costuming's... Actually, the costuming is pretty good.
It's pretty good.
But it feels like higher-end cosplay.
But that's how it is in the TV show, too.
Yeah, it's...
Like everything feels like everyone in this world is pretending to be in the Edo period all the time.
Yeah, even though they know it, even though it is the period.
Yeah, even though it actually is, they all have like cell phones and flying cars. But also they dress up in like samurai outfits. But also they put snap buttons on their samurai outfits.
Yeah. Also, it's of note that these guys are the only ones who are allowed to carry katanas.
Because they're the police.
Yeah, and Jintoki has a wooden katana, which is allowed.
Questionably?
Yeah.
It's like his, like, comfort sword. They let him have it.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's they never mention it. He's like, oh yeah, it's wooden, it's not a real thing, we're good.
But the way that the police interact with this group, from the get-go, even if you haven't seen the show, you know that these idiots have caused trouble before. Mm-hmm. We know the police. We've all been arrested at least twice. And, you know, we're just here kind of like that Sherlock Holmes and the police force in the British TV show version, where it's like, yeah, we know these idiots. They're here. Just deal with it. I'm slathered in honey, and I like your sister. You're carrying a wooden sword. You know, let's let it go.
Works. Yeah. Because very quickly, next we're introduced to a segment with the Mayo Guzzler himself, Deputy Chief Toshiro Hijikata, who's portrayed by Yua Yagiri, with 0 Takashi Miike points again. And he's like, because like he's doing basically what the chief should be doing.
Yes.
And this actually plays a little bit from like culture and stuff. Like to attract the bugs, you slather the tree in honey, which they do in Pokemon.
Yes, I mean,
but he's using mayo to slather the tree.
Because much like myself in Western dressing, the man is obsessed with mayonnaise.
Disgustingly obsessed with mayonnaise.
Yes, well, I feel that. But I'm not obsessed with mayonnaise.
Yeah, not the way he is.
No, I'm obsessed with Western dressing.
Yeah. And next in the dipshit lineup is the super sadist himself, Captain Sogu Okita, who is portrayed by Ryo Yoshizawa with another 0 Miike points.
Darn.
Which I did say this one's a little bit lighter in comparison, but there are some heavy hitters.
Yes.
Which he's got a giant ass beetle in a tree, which is so bad, but they're all over it thinking it's going to be
a real beetle.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
And then it turns out to be this dumbass.
Yes. Which also is a way to like introduce that Kagura has super strength, because they can't get it down from the tree, but she has to kick it.
Yeah. And we should also mention that because this is it starts off as an anime rip on other animes. She is dressed in the stupid Chinese fighter costume, even though she's a redhead white child. And like that's the character, because that was a like stereotype that you had for a while in like the 80s. That was a character. Yeah,
but also her as a character, she's actually an Amato. She's not a human.
Yes. But also we don't get into that at all in this movie.
No. Well, they do. They introduce it in the beginning. They explain that she's not from Earth.
Yeah, but then they also brush right over that fact.
Exactly.
And literally everyone forgets it.
Yeah. But from here, after being introduced to everyone, it turns out that the reason the special police force is out there.
Yeah, why are they out bug catching?
Well, it's now explaining that they're out bug catching because the Shogun's pet beetle has escaped, and now the entire cast of dipshits is after it. Not only our main trio, but the entire Shinsengumi is after it.
Yeah, all 100-something members.
Yeah.
A small police force is chasing down a beetle in the woods.
Yeah, because they see it. To be fair, it is a special beetle. It's all golden.
That's very fancy. I would like to question why the police force has a pet beetle.
They don't. The Shogun does.
Oh, so excuse me.
Yeah, that's why they're there. Is the Shogun has sent them to go find it.
Okay, that does make much more sense. I thought this was the Dalmatian of the police force.
To be fair, I would not put it past them.
Me neither. That's why I didn't question it the first time I watched it.
And so in this chase, the honey stalker gets distracted by Tei Shimura, who is portrayed by Masami Nagasawa.
Mm-hmm.
And also another 0 Miike points.
Damn.
But she was in the movie Pyrokinesis, which I did come across in, also known as Crossfire in the States.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to get a hold of it before my rant for Promare and Fire Force.
Ah, so close.
So she's weirdly related to something I stumbled upon.
Eventually, if you trace the lines back far enough, connected.
Kevin Bacon.
There we go.
It always leads back to Kevin Bacon, unless you have to go to a very obscure Nigerian actor to find it.
I think you could still make it back to Kevin Bacon.
You can. I have tried. I had to go really really deep into this guy was in one single movie
this is
that
his
no
only
one knows
acting
about.
His only acting role. His grandma filmed it for him.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I just remember I had to go down a very very far rabbit hole to find 0 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Damn. But they exist.
Yeah. And so while they're all still chasing this, the group runs into the former resistance fighter, Kataro Katsura, who actually still is a resistance fighter.
Yeah, but also
lazily.
Yeah, because he's just walking around the open, but also half of his dialogue is about how he's avoiding the police,
Mm-hmm.
but also the police are right there.
Yeah.
He's just walking down the street.
And so this is portrayed by Masaki Okada,
Mm-hmm.
and his faithful companion / pet,
My favorite character in the entire series,
Elizabeth.
I love Elizabeth. Now, what is Elizabeth?
Yes. Well, we'll get into Elizabeth in a second because they do go a little bit heavier into what Elizabeth is. But Elizabeth is portrayed by Takayuki Yamada.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also gotta say, fuck you, laugh. This is the Elizabeth I was talking about.
This Elizabeth appears to be a man in a duck costume.
Yes. And not even a
mascot.
A cloth draped over an umbrella is what it feels like.
This mascot sells you mattresses on the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Transports you to another world.
Not even, it just stands in the background waving signs while some guy goes, I've got so many mattresses, I gotta sell them. My doctor told me to.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Elizabeth does not talk this ever.
There is one single line from Elizabeth.
Is there?
There's one single line from Elizabeth.
So I didn't catch that.
There's a single line, but 99% of Elizabeth's dialogue is written onto whiteboards held by a stick.
Yeah. And so with this, we do get our, outside of the main cast, our first Miike point.
Woohoo!
With Katsura in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
There we go.
But, not Katsura, that's the character Okada.
Gotcha.
People might know Okada from the recent movie called Drive My Car, which was up for an Oscar.
I don't think I've seen that one yet.
I haven't either. I think it's just added to the criterion. But also, this is where I found out that there's a Japanese remake of Cube.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Also recently discovered that there is a Japanese sidequel to Paranormal Activity 2 called Paranormal Activity 2 Tokyo Night.
Excuse me.
Yes.
What?
Yes, there is a Japanese
I thought I had
Activity.
seen all of the Paranormals. I gotta find this one and watch it.
It's hard to find on DVD right now.
Curses.
I immediately went down trying to find both of these.
Well, if you ever get a hold of the paranormal, you let me know, because I went on a binge upsetness movie watching rant where I watched all of them together to try and prove to myself that the plot of all of them together made sense. I couldn't do it. There was too many holes.
Plot of 1 and plot of 3 make sense together. Plot of 2 is just absolute dog shit.
It is. It is.
And I want all my computer buddies to watch that one just because the blind hacker is the fucking stupidest idea in the entire series.
But at the same time...
Of any movie. It's probably one of the stupidest things.
Yes. Yes, it is. But at the same time... People went and paid money to go see that movie. People bought it.
Yeah. It's really bad.
It is. It is.
But Yamada, on the other hand, has a total of 7 points, including JoJo.
Wow. Really racking up the points here.
Yeah. Yamada's in a lot of movies, though, so...
Well, you do enough of them.
But the chase is over after the bug's eaten by an alien frog thing.
Yeah, it just jumps out of the water and eats it.
And that ends pretty much the entire introduction to the main protagonist group.
And here we see the pacing start to resemble, like, book chapters.
Yes.
Where, like, the chapter is done, time for the next chapter.
We have introduced the people. Now it's time for...
something else.
Plots.
Some plot.
Not anime plot, but plot.
Not yet.
Not really even.
No.
Not for this one.
Not for this one.
No. But it's nighttime and the Rebel and Jintoki are shooting the shit before a flashback with...
Of course, it's a flashback.
Their tragic backstory. Or not really even their tragic backstory, just a little bit.
Yeah, like a part of the tragicness of their backstory.
Yeah, just that they used to be together at the same dojo where they were learning Bushido for beginners. Their master was a traitor. Jintoki's still a dipshit.
No one has really changed.
No, he still picks his nose too much and proceeds to wipe it on him.
And, like, it's... The amount of nose picking in this movie is a little excessive, but at the same time, because it is so excessive, it quickly moves from being gross to funny.
It's just one of their things.
It is a Jintama thing. I know that. But at the same time, the fact that they openly acknowledge that you pick your nose too much.
Yeah.
And he goes, but the boogers just keep coming.
He's not wrong. As someone who has a hard time blowing their nose, picking is a constant.
The boogers just keep coming.
Yeah, he's not wrong. I love Jintoki. But he's given a warning that he's a little too careless. There's a serial killer on the loose. Oh,
bum,
no.
bum, bum.
Which we immediately cut tonight, and the rebel dude runs into the serial killer.
Yeah, like it's like immediate. I love it. There's no beating around. There's no mystery in this movie.
No. No, it just cuts right. It explains everything. Like there's,
and it's not even like who could the murderer be? Like we immediately see the murderer.
Yeah, which honestly, dope bridge scene.
It's cool.
It feels very model-like.
Yeah,
and we're also immediately shown that the blade that he's wielding is special because it glows like a cherry blossom pink under the moonlight.
And like I know it wasn't their intention, but it has a hint of that, like, sci-fi blade, where, like, you could be... You see it and you're like, this is gonna be one of those movies.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some fuckery.
There's some magic to this.
Yes.
Supposed magic. Surprisingly, there is zero magic in this movie whatsoever.
Unless you count, like, random aliens.
No, that's sci-fi. It's not magic.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah.
There's sci-fi in this. This movie sticks firmly in the sci-fi realm.
Because eventually we'll learn about the blade, and the blade is very sci-fi. It's not magic
it is.
in the least.
Yes, it is.
Well, no, scratch that. There is one little bit of kind of magic, but it's kind of wiped away because it's just Elizabeth.
There's questions about Elizabeth.
Yes.
There's always, but that's part of Elizabeth's charm.
Yes. Because immediately we kind of know what's going to happen to the rebel, but we don't really know.
Yeah.
But it's new. We cut to the morning. There's a little bit of news, but I like this because it kind of helps build the world in the same way like the commercials of Tokyo Gore Police did, where the news is it's just a quick little thing. But it also sets the tone for like they're still using like traditional materials.
Yes.
But the form of it is very much a modern looking newsroom.
Yes.
Just with bamboo.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're all still wearing Edo period clothing.
Mm-hmm. Kimonos
But it looks like Channel 9 news.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's the little things that make this movie work.
Yes.
But Elizabeth is at their apartment. And she's hiring the dipshits.
Kind of,
I don't
maybe.
know why. And we finally get to see the dog Sadaharu, who is portrayed by Mikako Takahashi, who also voices the dog in the anime.
Yeah.
And 0 Mickey points.
For those who have yet to see the movie, please describe the dog.
It is a giant white dog.
And the most CGI'd thing in the whole movie.
It is so bad.
And it's like blatantly CGI'd on top of things. I love him. He's cartoony where no one else is. He's CGI'd where no one else is. And he's too big while also being a puppy.
Well, he does start off a lot smaller.
Yeah.
In the manga, he starts off a lot smaller.
Yes, he does. In this movie, they do not address that at all.
No.
He is just a giant fucking dog with eyebrows.
Yeah. But now back to Elizabeth, where this is where the movie kind of breaks the fourth wall a little bit,
Just-
where
Yes.
there's a line, it's not weird when he's a manga or anime character, but in real life,
It's upsetting.
I just sense a guy in a suit, and then they're like, shh, we're not supposed to mention it.
But it is clearly just a man in a costume. Like, you can see his legs.
Yeah. They refer to Elizabeth as, like, Doranda, which I guess is some Doromon character.
So I looked it up, and yeah, the resemblance is striking.
A bit.
It looks like a squishy duck.
Just so...
And the eyes.
It's just so all over the place with its references and just
Yes.
bringing in everyone.
Yes.
Because immediately after we're told all this, Jintoki's like, well, peace, I'm off to work. And it's up to you two to get Elizabeth to talk.
But also, it kind of is implied that, like, he has no interest in talking to
No,
Elizabeth.
he has 0 interest. He'd rather do anything else.
Literally anything else.
Which the two, their attempt to get Elizabeth to talk is through Jintoki's stash of strawberry milk.
Which is okay, because they are helping Jintama, because he shouldn't be drinking it anyway. Good friend logic.
I mean, they aren't wrong.
They're not wrong.
They are just weirdly trying to be good. Actually, they're not. They're just being assholes.
They are, especially because Elizabeth doesn't eat or drink.
No. And,
Elizabeth's mouth is foam.
And it doesn't even make her talk because she starts crying.
She starts crying about the strawberry milk.
And they're like, what
Big
did we do?
CGI tears.
And it's because it reminds her of Katsura. Because it goes like some weird quick flashback of like him explaining what was like samurai should not indulge in sweet things.
Which is literally the complete opposite of his friend.
Yeah, it's specifically used to like tie back and show that hey, Jintoki's kind of like
a shit samurai.
Yeah. Exactly.
He doesn't follow any of the samurai codes. He's lazy. He's on the verge of diabetes. I don't think the man has ever eaten a vegetable.
Yeah.
Not on purpose.
Vegetables are expensive.
Yeah, apparently.
I'm surprised there's not a rip-off McDonald's in this, like everything else.
Yeah, I am surprised there's not a Whack-Donald's.
And so after this random bit of stuff that doesn't lead anywhere initially,
No, but it's delightful.
We cut to a blacksmith where Jintoki has been hired by twin swordsmiths Tetsuo and Tetsuko
Who look
Murata.
nothing alike whatsoever.
No.
I love how even the movie has to, like, one of the characters is like, by the way, we're brother and sister.
Yeah, we're not married.
We're not, like, they have to, like, blatantly tell you, and multiple times you have to do a double take and be like, is that one a chick? Yes, that one does have boobs. Okay.
Well, to be fair, a couple times my brothers, when they've been, like, Christmas gift shopping for my mom, have been mistaken as a gay couple.
I mean, I love, though, that this movie knows full well that A, this setup makes no sense, and that the actors look so much not like each other that there is no way in God's green earth any audience is going to think, without being told, that they are siblings.
No.
And even then, being told that they are twin siblings, you immediately go, no, they're not.
Well, they also act differently.
No, like one is like 20 years younger than the other one.
Well, and one can't like hear properly, so
no,
he's constantly
deaf as
yelling.
fuck.
And then like they're not like he's explaining shit, and Jintoki's yelling back at him, and then
He's
afterwards
so loud.
she's like, "Oh yeah, you have to yell in his other ear," and then he gets punched for it.
It's so funny. I love the yelling blacksmith because it is so funny because he clearly cannot hear a damn thing.
No.
He just keeps monologuing.
Yeah. But Tetsuya is played by Ken Yasuda, and Tetsuko is portrayed by Akari Hayami, which both have 0 Miike points.
Ah, damn.
And the only thing I know Yasuda from is he is the radish spirit in Spirited Away.
I wasn't aware that had a credit.
Yeah.
Okay.
One super loud, the other makes grunting noises.
You know, that's accurate.
But we learned that their father's masterpiece, one of the family masterpieces.
Someone's masterpiece.
It was his father, because that's right, because this came from before era.
Yes.
We learned that the Benizakuri has been stolen. And that's all we learn.
That, and I appreciate that the movie blatantly also says, boy, time's really tough for swordsmiths these days, isn't it?
Yeah, because they only have to make swords for like 100 people.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah. Well, no, I think the leopards we see in the beginning are Karen katanas too.
Still,
probably not in high demand.
No.
Which we cut back to the bridge where Elizabeth is leading the investigation, and
good job, Elizabeth.
Yeah, she's hiring them, but she's leading it.
They're just there to like walk around with Elizabeth.
Yeah, well, Kagura and the dog go one way. Bad CGI, which
I love it though.
I think that we probably should have mentioned it before. The reason the bad CGI is Fukuda said that he was inspired by Mary Poppins.
Specifically, the bad CGI from Mary Poppins.
Yes. And so that's what he wanted to apply, and that's why the bad CGI weirdly works for this movie.
Yes.
Which,
I completely agree.
Yeah, which, because of this movie, I finally decided to watch Mary Poppins for the first time.
Yeah? How did you feel?
It's odd.
Yes, it is.
We will have to cover it at some point because...
Oh, you know it.
While I was messaging you, my mom told me to call her, and I'm like, hey, guess what I watched? And she's like, I remember watching it. I wasn't a fan of it. I'm like, yeah, it's weird. They say fuck all and ignore the kids for like 20 minutes in the movie.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's weird. We'll cover it someday.
It is very weird, and there's so much about it.
But now we cut back tonight where Jintoki is on the hunt. And he's hunting pawn shops for a sword.
And I love how his logic isn't the worst, but it's also not the best.
No. It's just so stupid. I'm like...
He's like, I was so sure they'd try and get rid of this sword immediately at a pawn shop where swords are illegal.
Yeah, exactly. he's such a... And I think it's more so an excuse for him to just like walk around and not do shit while still
definitely.
getting paid.
Without having to talk to Elizabeth.
Yeah. But he runs into the sadist where he's given a warning that, hey, your sword's fake, but he's still looking for people like you.
Bum, bum, bum.
And he's like, are you on to a lead? And he's like, no, I'm just walking, trying to find shit.
But actually.
Which, I love how, like, expressionless he is. And he's like, obviously, this is your lying face.
Yeah, yes.
And we get back to the bridge where Elizabeth and Senpachi are staking out the bridge, but Senpachi is more of an errand boy.
Yeah.
He's come back with some pork dumplings.
Mm-hmm. Lunch. Dinner.
Or buns. Meat buns. That's what it is.
Delicious.
And there's a joke in here where Senpachi says, enough with your Okinawan in-jokes. And because Elizabeth says she only eats buns from 551 Hurai, which apparently
Mm-hmm.
has the greatest butamon, which are pork buns. And they're only in Okinawa.
A man of taste.
Yeah, which now I am kind of hoping my brother gets stationed there.
So that you can taste them?
Yes.
Yeah, I will be texting my cousin after this to be like, hey, have you had these? Tell me about them.
Are they as legendary as Elizabeth makes them out to be?
I know you're working and busy, but if you could make a day trip for me.
If you could make a weekend trip to Okinawa, I'd appreciate it.
It's by bullet train. You'd only take a few hours.
Okinawa's an island.
She can make it. She can go.
You have to fly into Okinawa. But yeah, it's one of those ones where it's like, it's a joke that doesn't work for us Westerners unless you're very familiar with.
No, but I feel like it is one of those like really obvious ones that like we're just not privy to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I think that's part of it is Jintama has so many cultural jokes in it that I'm sure a lot of them have gone over my head.
Definitely. But honestly, I kind of appreciate like cultural jokes that aren't retailored to a new audience. We see that a lot, especially with TV shows that get brought over where they try and rewrite the jokes where it's a donut. This donut is delicious. I don't want it turned into a donut. I want to have to do the research.
I forgot about the 4Kids adaptations of stuff.
Yep.
Sanji's lollipop.
Yes.
Oh no, how dare kids see smoking?
No, can't happen. Not allowed.
And this is before like you could smoke in restaurants and shit.
Oh yeah, no, like literally all of our parents smoked. Everybody smoked.
Mine didn't.
Mine either, but all of my aunts and uncles did.
My grandparents. A lot of mine did.
My dad's side gave up smoking. Bless them. Good job. Love that. But like all of that side's aunts and uncles during this time period, all of them smoked. Every restaurant we went into, the only difference between the non-smoking and the smoking side was a sign. Yeah. There was not even like a wall or a curtain.
HVACs all came to the same place.
Oh yeah, there was like an HVAC for the whole building.
Good old days.
Yes.
But the pair get stopped because they are acting suspicious, but I just love that no one respects the cops in this movie at all.
The cops are just there for funsies.
Yeah, pretty much. They're just, like, they don't even have power to do shit.
No, they can't arrest anyone.
No. But he gets killed quickly as the killer appears.
Yes.
And, the killer also, slashes through Elizabeth, who dimensions out of existence.
Beams up Miscati.
Yeah.
Right out.
Pretty much. And it's, Senpachi's about to die, but gets saved by Jintoki, who just kind of stumbles upon them.
Yeah, just shows up. Yeah. And just happens to be in the right area.
Yeah, and it's revealed that the killer is Nizo, the butcher.
Which they all know about. You don't, as the audience, but that doesn't matter.
And he's got nose issues of some kind, and also, side note, it doesn't explain this until, like, the very, very end of the movie that he's blind.
But also he has his eyes closed the whole movie. Like, just blatantly has his eyes closed. He has glasses on, though.
Yeah, I guess
he has glasses on, and his eyes are fully closed.
It's like a Book of Eli thing, I guess, that I just didn't pick up on.
There's a reason why I didn't watch this the first time with Brian, because I would have ruined it for him, and we would have had a replay of the Book of Eli where he's like, God damn it! How are you supposed to know the man was blind? And I was like, because he can't see.
Because his eyes are closed the whole time. That obviously means he's blind.
Or at least can't see.
He's Brock from Pokemon.
Which, we do know that Brock could open his eyes. He just doesn't.
Yeah. But Nizo is portrayed by Hirofuma Arai, who has one Miike point with Harakiri, which is a good adaptation of the original.
Very good.
But on a side note, I don't know how to score this because it's not directed by Miike, but he's in The Neighbor Number 13,
yes,
which Miike appeared in as an actor.
Yeah, maybe like a half point?
I don't know. I technically worked with.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta define your...
Yeah,
degrees of Takashi Miike here.
I have zero scoring besides like what he's directed and they've been in. I just need to come up with some Excel sheet or some data sheet of like, so that I can just search from now on.
No, I would like a full web map on your wall out of push pins and red string.
I am for other stuff, but not for this.
Okay.
But it is revealed that he is the one who cut Kotaro down.
Of course, the
Shocking.
killer. Yeah.
Oh no.
Again, we've been told there's a murder, and we have found the murderer. He has murdered someone, and we know who the murderer is all within like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and also we find out that Kaguya has found out that Kataro is still alive and he was taken to a ship of some kind.
Yeah, like there is no mystery in this movie whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I love it.
And on top of that, everyone is such a dipshit because she sends Sadaharu back with the implicit instructions to not be deterred and not to hump any cute girl dogs.
Yeah, she like yells it to him as he's running down the street. And does he make it back to headquarters?
We'll find out in a bit because she herself gets distracted by noodles.
That's fair, I understand.
Yeah.
100%.
Where we get back to the fight on the bridge and the waterway, which is cheesy, but it is cool.
It looks good, but yeah, it's cheesy as all hell.
Yeah, and on top, like, what I like about it is that, one, the effects aren't great.
No.
But it's on par with a lot of, like, more serious Japanese adaptations. Because
yes,
we do have to take into account when we're reviewing foreign films, the different standards they have. We've brought it up a couple times in some movies where directors or writers have said, yeah, we couldn't have made this in Japan. It works in the US because they have bigger budgets.
Yes.
And that's the kind of culture they'll make. Or a culture that will make that kind of movie. Whereas when it comes to Japanese live action adaptations, they're a little less refined with the CGI.
They really just kind of, like, fan service want...
Yeah.
Like, they want the content they're less worried about. Like, it needs to look perfect.
Exactly. And for us, that ends up looking a little cheap.
But there is a charm to Jintama's cheapness.
Yes, again, it's purposefully
cheap. It is purposefully cheap.
Like, even cheaper than normal is the thing.
Yes. Like, it is... But at the same time, it is cheap in, like, the I purposely made my own prom dress out of duct tape.
Yes. To prove a point.
Like, this isn't the cheapest method you could have chosen. But you did go with a cheap option.
Yeah. Which I'm okay with.
Oh, me too. I love it.
But Jintoki gets stabbed, and the mystery builds as Kagura boards the ship with a dude playing a shamisen. And all seems lost on the bridge, but Shinpachi comes to save the day, as well as the sadist.
Of course.
Because the sadist knew he had a lying face.
Yeah, of course.
And it's... Again, this is so episodic because we cut right back to the police HQ.
Yes.
Where, one, I love this sleeping mask. And
I do too.
This is the one Laugh owns without knowing that it's a Jintama sleeping mask.
And now that I have seen it, I also want one.
It is gold. They're harder to find now, but they're there. But it turns out the plot thickens as the butcher is teamed up with the rebel Takasuga Shinsuke.
Bum, bum, bum.
Who is portrayed by... Tsuyoshi Damoto. I apologize if I butcher names again. With 0 Miike points.
Darn.
But is also an idol and half of the band duo Kinki Kids.
I'm not familiar with them.
They have a Guinness World Record for having the most consecutive number ones.
I'll have to check them out then.
Yeah. But he's also portrayed he's teamed up with Matoko Kijima, who is portrayed by Nanao, with 0 Miike points. But I have no clue who she is, but she's an idol.
Okay.
And model work.
Sure.
She's pretty.
She is very pretty.
Yeah. Yeah. 0 Miike points.
Bummer.
Yeah. And finally, the pervert strategist Henpita Takachi.
Yes. this person.
Portrayed with Jiro Sato with another 0 Miike points.
Bummer.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get into them in a little bit.
I have so much to say about this character.
But we learned that the Kehitai has been reformed, which we have no clue what the hell that is.
Nope, and it's okay, you don't need to.
And this also marks the end of all the character introductions, and finally, like, we're an hour into the movie. We finally
get the full cast.
Yeah, this is where we get the plot, and we still have another hour to go on this movie.
Yes, this is about the point where I pushed the button to see how much farther I had, because I'd seen this movie before when I was rewatching it, and then I rewatched it again, being like, okay, I don't remember how much longer this takes, because in my head the last battle goes fast. Like from here on, in my head, the pacing speeds up, even though that's not true.
The pacing does. Here's the thing: the pacing does speed up,
but the amount of time it takes.
No, exactly. It still feels long.
Yes.
But we learned there's a coup d'état that might be in progress, and also the captain is nude doing his workouts.
And it's not even like a fancy workout. He is just swinging the sword. He's doing one position over and over and over again.
He's a gorilla.
Yeah. Yeah. I do wish that they would explain why his nickname is Gorilla. Because there's very little that resembles or brings about the imagery.
So what I think it is, I think it's because he's muscle bound. Because it seems to be a running trope, like the one chick from Fire Force who's relatively muscular.
Oh, yes.
They call her Gorilla, and they get...
I see.
Yeah.
I see. I spend a lot of time looking at this man's hair and butt.
He is he is pretty toned. It's
not a compliment butt look. It is a, wow, there's a lot of butt on this man. And it's just out there, a lot of this movie.
I don't know who the cast of Ghost of Tsushima is, but I low-key hope this man gets it, so you have to stare at his butt so much.
I hope so too, because this movie is 90% you staring at this man's hair going, was it that height last time I saw it? And then the other half going, oh, his butt's out again.
It's like...
Does this man own pants?
Oh, man. It's like the dude from... Mob Psycho 100, yes. Where every few chapters his hair gets taller and taller.
He is the Doug Dimmadome of hair, where you're not really sure if the hat is getting taller, but it might be.
Yeah. But back on the ship, Kagura interrogates the dude on the boat, but is attacked by Makoto. Which... This is where some of the humor's lost on me.
Okay.
It's a fun, dumb gunfight.
It is.
But Kagura's taunts about dirty panties is
so dumb.
It's
like, so dumb.
And her facial expressions are just so over the top stupid.
They physically hurt me.
But it works because it feels like it's from the anime or the manga.
Yes.
And isn't she picking her nose?
She picks her nose half the time. Like, she spends half of this battle picking her nose.
Oh, it's just so bad. Like,
it's terrible, but it fits. Like, honestly, if she had won without doing, like, a dirty trick,
yeah,
like, it would have been weird. Also, did you notice that they purposefully have her do flips the wrong direction? Like, she like, instead of front flipping to go forward, she back flips forward to go forward.
Oh, it's like, so much greater.
The physics doesn't line up.
And unless you're paying attention, you don't know.
No, you really don't notice, but it's clearly done on purpose.
And now we get the pervert Henpita.
Oh, God, this character.
Who appears and has their army surround Kagura, which...
Yeah.
This one is probably going to be the one that has, like, the biggest issue for Western audiences.
Yeah, and, like, I see why Jintama chose to take a stab at it.
Yeah.
And it is on brand for them to take a stab at this character.
Well, okay, so, for starters, Henpita is a pedophile.
100%.
Which they give him shit because they say he has a Lolita complex, but he claims he doesn't because he is a feminist.
I do appreciate his feminist joke.
Yeah, oh God.
That is hilarious.
It's so bad.
Because he doesn't ever use the word feminist in any form that makes any sense whatsoever. Like, at no point does he even kind of use it correctly.
Yeah, and to note, Kagura canonically is 14.
Yes.
Does not look it in this movie at all.
No.
Jintoki is 27.
But you know what? Again, I think even in the show, they do the whole, like, but what are ages in anime?
Yeah,
They're all a lie.
Yeah. And Shinpachi is 16.
Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely doesn't suit well in the Western audience.
No, but it is a trope that they are taking a stab at, and I see it, but I'm familiar with that world, so I see where the gag is coming from.
But they do it in a way that's they don't go full on with it.
No,
they just state the fact that, hey, we know what this character is.
I appreciate that they do so blatantly that, like, at no point does he get away with any of it.
No.
Like, at no point does the show appreciate this man for his stupidity. They at every turn they're like, no, you're bad.
Yeah, he later on he says some remarks that makes me think of the protagonist from Lolita a bit.
Yeah.
But Kagura, despite being surrounded, holds her ground for a bit, but is eventually gunned down.
I appreciate that she is gunned down, and it's not that there's no blood in this movie, because we find out later that there definitely is. Oh, and we see some earlier, too. But when she is gunned down, there is no evidence other than her falling over going, oh no.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, her species isn't supposed to be affected by...
Yes, but it instead of reading as, like, her being an alien, because she's fighting other random chick with guns.
Humans.
Yeah. Instead of reading as, like, she's an alien, wow, it reads as, y'all forgot to add the blood.
Yeah, pretty much. Also, once she's gunned down, I always think it's funny in these types of, or movies in general, where people get their ass handed to them. And then once that protagonist is down, everyone starts to get up like their ass wasn't just beat.
Yeah, I would stay down. I would like to get unemployment pay now. I am hurt on the job. I'm staying down.
Workman's comp.
Exactly.
Which Kagura isn't down. She gets up and retreats into the ship.
Of course.
Which, lords over everyone still. Of like, haha, you can't get me, but it's still shit.
Yes, I appreciate that she never stops talking shit.
No. It's like me in games where, like, I talk shit. I'm not good at them.
No.
I'm gonna lose, but I'm still gonna talk shit.
Yes.
Which she discovers something, but is finally shot down.
Again.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
She's dead.
But we also know that she's definitely not, because this movie's already done that.
No, because we're aware that the guy she's after, he's alive still.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And now we get a flashback to Jintoki kind of giving up on being stabbed after he's stabbed by the blade. We kind of get like his like, oh, I'm done being a samurai. Oh no, boo-hoo me. But he wakes up in his apartment and proceeds to insult Tay.
Yes, blatantly. It's very good.
And I do like her as a character because she is a better samurai than Shinpachi.
Yes, very much so.
But she can't take over because she's a woman.
But also, she definitely feels like the sort of character who, like, puts this restraint on herself. Like, if she walked into the police and was like, I'm taking over, none of them could stop her.
No, not at all.
Not one of them could stop her. Well, but at the same time, she really doesn't have an interest in doing that. She really likes playing house.
No, and she's also multiple times it's shown in the manga that she's stronger than the stalker dude, or it's shown in the movie too that she knocks him into the sky.
Yes, she just beats him.
Yeah, she takes out a bat and beats him,
like Team Rocket blasting off again style.
Which she proceeds to read Dragon Ball with only the sound effects.
It's not even like starting at the beginning of a chapter. She's like starting the book during a fight scene.
Yeah. Which
she's like almost done with the book.
And Jintoki's like, wow, this is impressive.
Good acting.
Yeah. And there's some stupid joke about like the tongue in cheek that I have a feeling is something that I think it's like a play on words or something that just doesn't translate well.
Didn't quite catch it.
No. But
But I am now going to read my manga out loud to my husband when I get home.
Only the sound effects.
But only the sound effects. I specifically am going to open Way of the House Husband, which has a lot of sound effects in it. Chop, 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 chop. I'm not even going to announce that I've started reading to him.
I love that both of us try to find weird little things to taunt your husband with.
It is so much fun.
He's getting more One Piece. They're not going to be in order, but he's getting more.
You should never make them in order. Skip around as far as you can.
Oh, it's going to be fun. But we cut to Senpachi, who finds Sadaharu, who did get distracted and is humping what we can presume is a very tiny dog.
It's smaller than him.
But he's out getting leads that lead him to the ship as well.
We assume, honestly, I'm not sure this dog ever does anything useful.
He leads Senpachi to the ship.
They were already there. And then he turns around and is like, oh, are you smelling the ship?
Yeah. Which, on top of that, their hiding is so bad. They're just chilling behind barrels.
I love how, like, all the guards can clearly see them all the time. There's a giant-ass dog right there. And no one does anything.
Yeah, and so we do get one of, like, the very first, like, big nerd references in this.
Yes.
And it's kind of a nice nod, too, because the guard who finds them apparently is, like, a big, space battleship Yamato fan.
Okay.
And he uses it as, like, a ruse to, like, just be a dick to them.
Yes.
And it's great, because he's, like, he's making fun of their comedic time. He's like, no, you should do it this way.
Yes.
Like, critiquing them as actors kind of stuff. And they get distracted a little bit. But for those who don't know this, Battleship, or a space battleship Yamato, is one of the most influential science fictions mangas to exist. It influenced series such as Gundam, Neon Genesis Evangelion, and Space Invaders.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
big
pretty
time.
Big. I've never read any of it, but I know of it.
I was like, I know of it. It's not my genre, unfortunately.
Maybe down the line for me.
I will eventually attempt to do it.
Yeah. But we cut back to the apartment after Shinpachi's tossed away.
Yes.
And Tetsuko has arrived, and we get a little bit back and forth, and we get a little bit more of what's going on with the ship as well. Like, this is the part where a lot of stuff starts cutting back and forth relatively quickly.
Yes.
And not in, like, a good way. It's very choppy.
It is... Yeah, it is very fast.
Yeah, and we learned that the serial killer's been acting on his own, and he's protected by the sword at this point.
Spooky sword.
And this is where we learn about, like, there's no magic in this show.
No, not a single drop.
Movie. We learned that the sword's infused with the AI that feeds off the body of the host, and it was built to take on battleships in the old war.
Ooh.
Super powerful weapon. And we also told that the sword is like we're getting back and forth of like what the sword's doing and the serial killer at the same time. We're told all this to Jintoki, who proceeds to compare it to Migi from Parasite.
And he's not entirely wrong.
Which I also think a couple people from the cast are in the live action of that too.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing. So I think part of the reason I don't recognize most of the cast is because almost everyone is from like that circle of live action actors.
Yes.
And we have a very hard time getting the live action animes to the US.
Yes.
Because like I've learned so much of like there's so much shit that's made. Like we learned the Kiki's Delivery Service
has one, yeah,
from the director of The Grudge.
Yes. And like I cannot get my hands on it.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to keep trying. I will eventually own this sucker. I just don't know when or how.
I'll keep an eye out for it, and
yeah, like we can eventually get it, but it's not like you find these things.
No, you actually have to actively seek a lot of this stuff.
You gotta hunt them.
Which is sad for us nerds.
The days are hard.
Yeah, I need to learn Japanese so I just don't have to do subtitles. But we also learned that Jintoki was sent on this mission to die. And that the blacksmiths knew this the whole time, and he's like, well, shit, why'd you guys do that? You guys are assholes.
That's rude.
Yeah, and we learned their tragic backstory, which no one gives a shit about.
Literally, even the movie itself doesn't care.
No. Because
it gives you their backstory, and no one is paying attention to it.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing, too, is, like, we get backstories, but it's so glossed over because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. There's only one person's backstory who even minutely matters, and I don't care.
No.
And neither does he.
I don't even care about Jintoki's backstory.
No, he doesn't care about his own backstory.
Because he's very much one of those characters just like living in the here and now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we cut back to the ship where it turns out Kagura is safe. Surprise.
No one saw that coming.
And she's being fed by the pedophile who is having an eating contest with
other ladies.
Yeah. She's obviously dominating. That's her other thing, is she eats a lot.
So much noodles.
I mean, I like noodles. So.
I do too, but that was a gross amount of noodles.
It is. Competitive eating in general is just gross to me.
Completely.
Also, the other thing, like, with not competitive eating, but, like, making eating sexy has always been weird to me.
Yeah, this guy kind of feels like they threw as many, like, wow, you're that guy, as they could at this person, like, at this character.
Well, they're talking back and forth on it, and they're, like, with the gunslinger, and she's like, you realize, like, we have to kill her at some point. He's like, no, I'll cultivate her.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for her. This is why I think of, Humphrey from Lolita, is because he's like, I'm waiting till she's the perfect age.
Yeah.
But till she flowers.
Yeah, newsflash, dude, look at her. Nope. Nope.
She is a terrifying alien.
She's a terrifying alien child.
Yeah. But he's a feminist.
Yeah, he keeps throwing that word around, and I don't think it means what you think it means.
Oh, it's...
It is very inconceivably used.
Nice nod. But Jintoki decides he's gonna help the stalker, or he's gonna help the blacksmith without telling them.
Yeah, of course.
And the stalker policeman appears under a tatami mat.
He just pops up in the living room.
He's been there the whole time. He's like, I heard all of it.
And she's like, you have better things to do.
She's like, yeah, you're stalking. The only reason you're here is because you're stalking me.
Yeah.
You're not even doing a good job at that.
Like, she knew he was there.
Yeah. But Shinpachi decides to sneak on the boat, which he gets on easily.
Yeah. He, like, walks up, and they're like, who are you? And he's like, it's me. And they're like, it's you! And, like, he does that twice, and he's like, wow, that was easy.
I do that just because, like, I'm very bad with names, and I don't want to be an asshole.
That's the entire thing, yeah. None of these guys actually know each other. They're just like, hey!
You guy, yeah, we had beer that one time.
You definitely work here. I mean, he's in uniform.
Yeah. And, after that, we cut to Jintoki, who goes to an inventor because he needs an easy victory.
Yes. I appreciate this man.
I love how lazy he is.
He's so lazy, and, like, I like how he hides behind, like, well, look at me, I'm all beat up. And the guy's like, yeah, I don't have anything for you. Yeah,
because there's, like, a freaking Gundam in the background.
Yes. From a different anime.
Yeah, there's just...
And he's like, can I have that? He's like, no, the guy's here to pick it up right now.
And the guy shows up in, like, full cosplay, too.
Yes. And then he hands him a fruit from One Piece.
No, real quick, I want to talk about the dude who shows up, because they're just poking fun at him the whole time. Like, they're not poking fun at him, they're poking fun at cosplayers.
Yes.
Because he's like, are you sure? You looked a lot younger in the anime. And he's like, oh yeah, I am, but, I'm on vacation. And then he's like, well, I gotta run to the bathroom. And then he, like, does his pose to, like, run off real quick. He's like, he was faster. I'm like, but there's like, well, maybe he has to shit. But real quick, before we get into all the other references, the inventor's played by Gengai Hiraga, he is Gengai Hiraga, who's portrayed by Tsuyoshi Murai, who's in a shit ton of stuff. Mm-hmm. Dude's got like almost 200 acting credits to his name.
So many.
But the One Piece reference is just
the One Piece one cracks me up so hard.
so over the top. Because Jintoki's a dick about the whole thing. Because the dude gives him a gum fruit and he says he's going to be boing boing Jintoki, which fuck you, Mark.
And he also has the straw hat that he slaps on his head.
Yeah. And like he's like, well, can I really eat it? And the guy's like,
no, it's a melon.
No, he's like, it's a prop. It's not real. You're an idiot. You read too much manga, and then Jintoki
Your brain's mush.
Then he starts smacking him, and then the dude starts smacking him back.
Yeah.
And he gets sent away with nothing.
Yeah, he doesn't even get, like, a side piece. He doesn't even, like, get handed, like, a little gun or anything. He's just like, no, get out of here. Get out of my prop shop for cosplayers.
Yeah, pretty much. And then we cut to the ship where Kaguya decides to vomit all over the ship.
Is a lot of noodles.
She's also being crucified. She's about to be executed. But Shinpachi appears to be the lone hero.
Poor guy.
Who, like, starts off strong and then starts sputtering.
Yeah.
And
they call his bluff immediately.
Yeah, because the pedophile's not interested in boys. He's like, yeah, I don't give a shit about you. I only care about her. And he's like, is that a button-up kimono?
And he just snaps it closed.
This series just gives zero shit.
It gives no fucks, and I love it.
But surprise, he's not alone. The police arrive to join the fight, and all the ships start to blast off.
Yes.
Which we also get that the serial killer's growing stronger, even more stronger than the leader. But I love how we bitched about in the X from Outer Space microview. Mm-hmm. That this ship was just a model painted.
Yeah.
And all of Jintama's are just boats with rockets on them.
And I love it.
It is such a lazy...
And it's not even like a fancy ships with rockets like in some of the space like animes and stuff. They are just submarines with a rocket on the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how it works. It's just going to take off.
Yeah, no, there's no thought put into like, hey...
But...
what if people are in the air when this thing is moving?
At the same time, it kind of makes me think a little bit of how Cowboy Bebop ships are kind of half boat, half spaceship.
Yeah, but those ones at least feel like a spaceship.
Yeah.
This one, I have no idea what height people go to. How long does this thing go in the air? No idea. No clue. What is the purpose of this boat?
Magic.
Yeah. Sci-fi.
And the police get a riling speech from Kundo, who ends up falling into the ocean, and they all just move on like, cool, man.
He doesn't, no, he walks off the gangplank the wrong way.
Yeah. We forget about him the rest of the movie.
No, you do, you completely forget about this man.
And we cut back to the ground where Jintoki's stuck on the ground, and he wishes he had an energy beam like Kamehameha, which, fun bit that I didn't know. Uh-huh. Because it doesn't translate it to our knowledge of it. It gives it the literal translation of turtle destruction wave.
Yes. And if you aren't the giantest nerd, you would not get what that was.
Yeah, I paused the movie to look up, like, what the hell is the turtle destruction wave? Like, how am I supposed to know this? Because, like...
I only know this because I had a friend who was super into Dragon Ball, like the original one back in the day, and her brother had gone overseas and gotten her the Japanese one, and we spent all weekend one time looking all this shit up.
Well, for me, it was one of those things where, like, I know a few words, and so, like, the words didn't translate to what I was reading, so I'm like, maybe I don't know what this word actually means. But... he gets Akari shows up to give him a new sword, which he proceeds to insult because
it's like immediately because it looks like a poop,
a golden poo.
It's a curled dragon. Excuse fucking you.
It's poop.
It's poop. It totally looks like a poop emoji.
And then Gengai returns to apologize for being a dickhead, and he had another customer who had a hover thing, which he says is from Nausicaa, or he says it's from... Does he say it's from...
They do, and then they bleep out Nausicaa.
They say it's from Nausicaa, and they question the legality of...
They're like, openly.
Pulling it off, even though they pulled off the Gum Devil fruit. And then, they bleep out, he's like, yes.
And he read from Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
And so, he just... uses Nausicaa the Valley of the Wind's windsurfer to go up to the ship. No problem. And Nausicaa gets off with and like she's got like a little stuffed creature on her shoulder and everything.
It's so bad.
She's like, yeah, you can borrow it.
But it also fits because like the whole movie just feels like bad cosplay.
Yes, like this entire town is just a cosplay convention.
Pretty much. And so fights continuing on the ship. Elizabeth returns.
Yay!
But with a machine gun like Django.
Yeah. Good job, Elizabeth.
I don't know if it's a Django reference, but it feels like it is one.
It doesn't matter.
No.
It is Elizabeth with a Gatling gun.
Yeah, because now we actually do have the final fight, which is like 30 minutes long.
It is but honestly, even though it is like a fast-paced fight, you don't really get bored of it.
No.
Because I think part of it helps because like we switch like sets, kind of. Because the first set feels very much like a stage.
The whole thing feels like a stage
yes.
from here on. From here on, the entire thing is cheap and stage-like.
Yes, but it feels like stages in like almost a video game where you're like, well, I know we're fighting the boss again, but now we're in the fire world, so it's different.
Super Smash Bros. Omega platform levels where it's just different backgrounds.
It's just the different background.
Which I love how like the enemy is so confused about why anyone is even there.
Yeah.
Like the police make sense. But like, the Jintoki crew is like,
yeah, why are you here? And they're like, I don't know.
We're here because they were sent by the dumbest samurai in the universe.
And they're not wrong.
As Jintoki arrives and he's got
and
the
he
sword.
Goes, yeah.
Yo. Yeah, he's got the sword over his back and yo.
And you're like, yeah, that is in fact the dumbest samurai.
But this is the part where I didn't realize the serial killer's blind because they straight up say he's blind.
Yeah, they even they tell you in every way possible. They let you guess, they show him with his eyes closed, and then they're like, by the way, he can't see, but he kind of can, because he can see the whiteness of Jintoki.
Yeah. Jintama's the beacon of light in the darkness.
But also, like, he's really not.
Well,
they never explain it. They never explain why he's shiny to this man. He just is.
Because he's the one who stands out. Everyone has these grand ambitions, and this is the one guy who is of the time. He's moving with the times, and he's understanding it.
I appreciate your depth and insight to this, but I think that the movie legitimately didn't have an answer to that question.
I know it didn't. But this is the part where the blade really starts fusing with him. And
it looks really cool.
It's really cool, but it reminds me a bit of like Tetsuo the Iron Man. With a bit of like Arin from Final Fantasy X vibes.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of very fleshy tubes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also like Jintoki standing on the sword is a really dope moment.
I know that the like CGI fighting isn't the best looking, but it still looks cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like they very much made it like the anime and did a good job with it where it's not like over the top like sci-fi bad.
Yeah.
It's just budget bad.
Yeah. And like it's fun.
Oh yeah, exactly. But now we get cuts between fights. The fight with Senpachi and the pedo is so dumb.
It's so dumb.
Because you also kind of forget that he's a sadist. Yeah,
until he goes, I love it.
Yes, exactly.
He's getting beat up.
Exactly. It's just a stupid moment, too,
It is. He's there, though. He's helping.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I mean, also the girl fight's pretty bad, too. Like, it's more action-packed, but it's just...
It's bad mostly because they've got, like, a gunslinger against an 80s-style kung fu chick.
Well, she's also a gunslinger. Her umbrella's a gun.
Yeah, but she doesn't use it much.
No.
She, like, has, like, 2 scenes where she's like, gunslinging, umbrella, go! And then the rest of the time she spends squirreling around this woman's legs.
Yeah.
Like a chipmunk. Or a cat who's very hungry.
Yes, I wonder where you brought that reference from. Not Charlie rubbing against both of us this entire episode.
He's so hungry.
He's not hungry. He's fine.
I don't know. Looks pretty hungry.
Nah, he's good. But the fights are cut short as Jintoki falls through the ship.
Of course.
Which this not only Tetsuo the Iron Man, but like Akira Tetsuo vibes.
I was gonna say, once he falls through the ship, it starts feeling a little Akira to me.
Yeah, just very massive, out of control.
And it's like robotic but fleshy.
Yeah.
Like, not goopy, but also not hard.
Yeah, very...
Science future.
Yeah, not xenomorphic. Xenomorph's a bit hard. So.
Yeah. Like, it's a specific look, and like, even though, again, the budget wasn't super high for it, I think it still looks pretty decent.
Yeah.
Like, it's still believable looking.
I'll give it credit. It's still going to look bad in
it's gonna look
10 years.
But it's going to look the exact same level of bad.
Exactly. And that's why it's going to last.
Yeah.
But I think, okay, here's probably the other reason why he sees him as a shining light, because he gets defeated because teamwork makes the dream work. The favorite anime trope.
Yes, they do immediately go to the whole, like, friendship is magic bullshit.
Yeah, and everyone teamed up around this deadbeat samurai dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, like, to be fair, he's also the only reason any of them ever pay rent.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and at the end, Tetsuya sacrifices himself for Tetsuko when putting up that Jintoki is really the better swordsman, and there's no real character development besides the bro and sis, and only at the very end.
Yeah, and like, honestly, I don't care about them.
No.
Not at all.
No.
The only character development that I am here for is we discover that the three guys who all, via flashbacks, have learned that they all study together. Two of them have held on to their school books and their old learning, and you do almost get tricked into thinking Jintoki also still has his.
Yeah.
Like, you get so close to being like, oh, they all three are still together. But no. He spilled food on his at one point and threw it away.
Yeah, that's at the very end, though.
Yeah, but like, through this whole bit, you're like, oh, maybe there's hope.
Yeah, because, and here's the thing. So we do get, like, that little bit of heart-to-heart at the end, where Jintoki, the rebel samurai and the leader of the coup d'etat...
Purple hair.
Is his hair purple?
Like, bluish purple.
Okay.
Black, blue, purple.
Raven hair?
It's like, obscenely raven hair.
Sasuke raven hair.
Yes. It's not a natural raven hair, and the only reason you're not convinced he dyed it as an adult is because child version of him has it, too.
Okay. Alright.
They look very much the same, from child versions to adult versions.
Yeah. But, I mean, it all turns out to be a trap. The coup d'etat is actually joining the aliens who kind of want to overthrow the government, too.
Yeah, and again, you do not care.
Goes nowhere because Jintoki sends the other two away while he takes on the final boss, like Gandalf.
Yeah.
And...
But don't worry, he secretly has fighting powers that he's long forgotten.
He's always had them. He's basically a warrior who's kind of been rusted over, and this battle's awakened the demon that he really is.
That's what they keep saying, and then he himself reminds us that he is in fact just a lazy ass.
Yeah, because he asked him, what does he stand for now, and he's like, it's basically loved ones and parfaits.
Yeah,
like, that's his only meaning in life.
Yeah, the only meaning in life is... and, like, it wasn't loved ones first, it was parfaits first.
Yeah. Which, cool choreography.
Yeah, it looks good.
Jintoki can't kill him because he does care for him still.
Yeah.
He cares for all his friends and companions.
Yes. Despite the bad guy repeatedly asking not to be called a friend or companion.
Yes. Everyone escapes, same origins but different outcomes.
Yep.
And this is where they ask about the Bushido for beginners, and Jintoki spilled ramen on it.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And I love how that book has saved the other two. Like, they had it against their chest and, like, it stopped a blade for both of them. And Jintoki's over here like, yeah, I threw that sucker away like the week we got it.
Oh, he's so great. And we close on a horrible, horrible song.
Oh, it's so bad. It's the same song from the beginning, but now we get to hear more of it. And for those of you who are on the internet, you've probably heard the rendition of, like, Harry Potter played on a children's harmonica or recorder. This has that same vibe, but instead of a recorder, it's someone singing.
Yes.
It's purposefully terrible.
It's bad karaoke.
It's and it's the voices turned up too far.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you got to, but I took the time to read the lyrics that went through with the song. They make no sense. No sense.
I mean,
it's kind of like Jintoki wrote this himself.
To be fair, Dance Gavin Dance and Secret Band, two of my favorite bands, are so nonsensical.
I would agree with those are also nonsensical, but those at least feel like maybe deep down there's like a rhyme and reason to it. We just don't know it. This feels like a 13-year-old child tried to make a poem about how cool he is.
Oh, no. I mean, it is very much so, like, nonsensical lyrics for, like, the sake of poetry. John Messa said that he uses his voice as an instrument. I mean, hell, find meaning out of this. I don't mind a little slippity slap. If I'm feeling vanilla, I could cream on your back. If I steal a gorilla, then I know that zoo's whack and they need to step up their shit.
You know what? It makes no sense, but it makes more sense than this song.
Exactly. That's all of...
That one at least rhymes.
Exactly. It's got flow to it. But
this one doesn't have any flow.
It's so bad. But luckily it is cut short as we get like a mid-credit epilogue of everyone returning, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we all go back to normal.
They'll carry on. And then we cut to a better song, which is, I think, the actual theme song.
Yes.
Which is by Overworld. Which I'm sure the mega weebs out there know this. But Overworld's been in a lot of people have heard Overworld. They've done Bleach, Blood Plus, D Gray Man, Mobile Suit Gundam Zero, Blue Exorcist, My Hero Academia.
Yeah,
they've done
all
a
the
lot
big
of
ones.
shit. Yeah, exactly. And so that's Jintama.
And it is exactly that.
Yeah, I couldn't find much outside of it other than like it was the Japan's third highest grossing domestic film of 2017.
Yep.
It got a sequel, Jintama 2.
Yep.
Which, I love its subtitle. The law is surely there to be broken.
Yeah, that is the actual title of the movie.
Yep. And most of the cast is returning, which, I mean, hell, this movie, even though we've called it Jintama this whole time, does have a kind of a subtitle name called
it does.
Jintama the live action movie.
Yeah, and it goes by that whole thing.
Yeah. Or no, sorry, it's Jintama live action, the movie.
Yeah.
So it's separating itself from like theater and stuff.
Yeah,
musicals.
Because there's Gintama other versions.
Yeah, there's a 3-part web drama that spawned from this.
Of course.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how to explain. I don't know how to really wrap up my feelings about this movie.
I think that's the joy of Gintama, is it is a constant hum of just forever. I have explained Gintama to people who like anime, wanted a comedy, but didn't want to like get into a series, and I was like, it doesn't matter what episode you pick, just pick one, and once a week pick a different one.
Yeah, maybe watch like the first 5 and then start skipping around.
Honestly, I have watched a good chunk of it. I've watched most of the first like wave of it, and then I started jumping around. And sure, there are parts where you could make the argument of like, oh well, don't you want to know about this arc, or don't you want to like know about this bad guy? But honestly, Gintama's the genius of Gintama, and you even see it in Gintama the movie, is because the characters don't give a shit about their own lives and world, you as the audience don't need to either.
No.
You're not missing anything, because I bet you $10 they also don't know what's going on.
They 100% don't know what's going on, because they just stumble upon everything.
Yes, and honestly, that's the joy of Gintama, is like, it has open endings. You don't care, because they don't care.
No, and that...
Nothing is resolved.
No, because it leaves off on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, but also, like, if I had been told, like, oh, they never got around to making another one, like, that was it for Gintama live action movies, and they're never gonna make another one, I wouldn't be upset.
No.
I wouldn't feel like this void of, like, oh, well, I have questions. I don't have questions.
No.
I am fully satisfied that the cast of Gintama has always been idiots, are idiots, and will always be idiots.
Yeah, it's just that perfect blend of stupidity that just works. Kind of like how What We Do in the Shadows. Like, the movie's good, I don't really want more from the movie cast, but
like,
they're all a bunch of idiots.
Yeah, like, if you told me, like, oh, there's a whole bunch more, don't you want to watch it? I'd be like, I will eventually get to it, but you know what? I'm happy that those idiots are happy.
Well, yeah, and I think for me also, like, Jintama is that one that's kind of led me to liking, because everyone's idiots, it's opened up the world for other shonen series for everyone to be idiots, because to be fair, Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece do kind of take them, One Piece a little less, do take themselves seriously. But now with our modern wave of stuff, I think this is going to hold better with, like, newer audiences.
Definitely.
Especially with, like, everyone in Jujutsu Kaisen being fucking morons.
Yes.
To certain degrees. Everyone in Mob Psycho 100 being idiots. Like,
yes.
We have so many mangas where everyone is kind of dipshits.
Yes.
That I think Gintama is due for a resurgence.
Oh, I 100% agree. I think the only reason why, at least here in America, Gintama hasn't had, like, the constant influx of people, like, really into it. Because there's definitely people who like it. But there's not, like, the movement behind it that there is for, like, Bleach or One Piece.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is because Gintama never tries to be for us.
Oh, no.
It's for the Japanese anime crowd.
Well, and on top of that, like, this is back when I actually read the author's notes quite a bit. I remember, like, the mangaka saying, like, yeah, I didn't know what to write, so I just threw something together and hoped it worked.
And it does.
Yeah, or, like, I was forced to write this chapter, I didn't want to do this.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I think you are 100% right in that it's not...
And, like, that's okay. Like,
yeah.
I don't feel like it has to be for us, because I enjoy picking up occasionally here and there. I like that it's popular enough. It's not hard to get a hold of, but also, like, I don't feel like I'm missing out on not watching every episode.
No, exactly. It's just watching around the parts you like.
Exactly.
So,
it's a good time.
Yeah. So, Chris, on our good, bad, weird scale, what do you give this one?
I give it a good weird.
Good weird?
It's a good weird for me, because it is all over the place. It is weird because it wants to be, but it does so in a delightful way.
So, for me, I think this is our first deviation.
Oh.
I give this our holy trifecta.
I can totally understand that.
Of good, bad, weird.
It is delightfully all of them.
Are you going to change it?
No,
all,
I'm not.
No?
I'm not.
No?
Because for me, this isn't bad. There's too much effort put into it.
Oh, so you're pointing out that it's bad because... Or it's not bad because it's intentionally bad.
Exactly.
So it's not like Evil Dead where it was trying to be good but ended up being bad.
It didn't accidentally end up bad, and it wasn't trying to be bad. It was trying to be weird on a budget.
But, and here's the thing, I don't think Gintama's intentionally bad.
No.
I just think it's bad because that's Gintama. Gintama's kind of a stupid series.
It is, I 100% agree with you, it is dumb. And depending on how you look at it, it either lands with bad in that mix, or it lands with good in that mix.
Okay. I'm not gonna budge. This is a holy trifecta for me.
I totally understand.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something about it, even if I don't get the references and stuff.
It's still fun.
Yeah.
Like, there's enough slapstick humor around the references I don't get that I don't care.
Oh, exactly. And so I guess, would you recommend Jintama?
I totally would, but not to the average watcher.
No.
I think Jintama is perfect. Even if you've never heard of Jintama, never seen an episode, this is, if you like anime, if you like animation, if you like Japanese stuff, this movie's so much fun.
Yeah.
If none of those things appeal to you, you will not enjoy this movie at all. This movie will be terrible, according to you.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it's one that I would maybe have one of my brothers watch, the Closet Weeb. But, like, I wouldn't watch this with my folks. Like, yeah. It's definitely a selective recommendation.
It is a selective recommendation, but it is a strong recommendation for those who, like, at any point, if you've considered going to an anime convention, you should watch this movie.
Yeah, this feels like an anime convention.
This feels like an anime convention.
Well, I don't know. I was expecting you to give it the holy trifecta as well.
It is very close to a holy trifecta for me, but it's
because it's intentional. It's bad on purpose.
It is bad on purpose, and it unfortunately does so too well.
Okay. I get that. I
Yeah.
see your viewpoint, and yeah, this is the holy trifecta for me. So.
I totally understand.
But anywho, this has been The Good, the Bad, and the Weird.
Thanks for listening.
Peace! Thank you for stopping by this here town of The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. We appreciate your listenership, and if you want more of our takes in your life, feel free to check us out on social media at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, or TGTBTW for short. As well, if we missed a fact, your favorite part of a movie, or just have a suggestion and want to reach out and say howdy, feel free to email us at tgtbtwpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to join our Discord at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, where we talk about movies, just share random banter here and there. And always, check out our podcasters, streamers, or any other content creator we shout out in our episodes. We really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace!